This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenrail radio playlist. zenrailclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Pointy Bakery. If you're located in the Pointy area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Pointy Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone can podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. All right, so what do we want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about Raya or Stylebender? I feel like... Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Maybe the Raya thing.
The Raya thing? All right, cool. I kind of feel like this was a... what?
Just get it out of the way.
Okay, true. I kind of feel like this was a bit of a letdown weekend for me. I was really excited for the Raya thing and the Stylebender fight, but both played out not to my expectation. But whatever, it is what it is. So, Raya, what do you think of it? So Raya came out on the weekend.
Well, Friday, technical release day.
Oh, Friday, yeah, technically it was Friday, and it was basically the first Asian-led Disney movie, like the princess, like first Asian princess. I mean, you technically had Moana, which is like Polynesian, but this is like Chinese or something, or like
yeah, but wouldn't Mulan be that then?
Oh yeah. Okay, so then why were they all?
I think it was just mainly Asian actors. Like it was.
But same with Mulan. No, because there was this big push, like, this is the first Asian or like prominent. Like they saw themselves. Like I saw that post about like Asian kids crying, and they're like, oh, they saw themselves in this one.
Yeah,
but yeah, actually,
maybe it's been a while. Maybe because this is the younger generation.
Right. Because it's been like years
one
since Mulan.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the new generation's version of that. Yeah, because you're right. Mulan would have been the first one. But anyway, so yeah, what'd you think?
I thought it was good.
Yeah, you loved it. You loved it. I really thought it was like I felt like it was too childish. You know, like I get what they were doing with the message behind it. You know, they're pushing like trust and like
working together.
Yeah,
it just seems like it fit what's happening right now.
That's what I thought too.
I liked it.
I agree with you. I thought it was like the message behind it was like we could all become like one country, or like one world peace kind of thing. You know, that made sense. And it was almost like the negativity was like the greed and like those like ghost spirits that were pushing, you know, the plight of humans and stuff. But it felt too like you're pouring on the cheese. You know what I'm saying?
And also it didn't really have like a true villain. Like it didn't have a villain.
True. I didn't think about that. Yeah. I mean, like the ghost things were kind of
villains. But they were not human. It was just like something.
I mean, technically, you could say like Fang was the villain, but it wasn't really.
No,
like
it wasn't really. No,
yeah,
none of them were.
Because they were all looking out for themselves. So maybe that was the deeper message too. It's like there are no real villains. It's all like a world of gray. Because we all have our own agendas and stuff. But like, I don't know. I just felt it was too simple, and because like remember like everything just fell into place. Oh, we need this. Okay, we found it. Oh, we need to find the dragon. Oh, we got the dragon. It was more like they used the story as a vehicle to push their agenda. Like you could have, it's not a standalone story. If you took away the message, what would the movie be? It's like kind of like,
but any story comes with the message. So I think that was the message in here, was working together we can get through things.
Yeah, I see your point. But what about like Superbad? There's no real message there. It's just like it's like a good story, you know, or like you know what I mean? Like I think some movies have like message heavy and then some are like story driven, you know. But I felt like this, it was trying to be too many things or it was too slanted in let me push an agenda to children, you know?
Yeah, that's true. We can all take our own opinions away from it, but I thought it was good.
Yeah. Did you like what did you like about it?
It's just like for me, it was like her family thing, like, and the end result was what her dad was wanting to do, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And it was the lesson that she had to go through. And then there was like some scenes I liked in there, like when she did have like anger kind of take over her when she was fighting the girl. Yeah. Yeah. Just like, oh, she's like, she can't be listened to right now. Like that she has to.
Yeah. No, I see your point, but it was just like, it felt hollow to me. I don't know. When I was watching, I was like, I'd much rather watch Kung Fu Panda right now, because I remember watching Kung Fu Panda. I was like, well, there's a lot of deep lessons in here about like spirituality, life and death, like honor. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like those are real tangibles. It was like this one was it was just like trying to hammer home the idea of like trust in other people. Yeah, you know, and like. Yeah, even the final scene when they all work together, that was just like, oh, and now they're working together. You know what I mean? It wasn't like the mom became a statue, the one who was like the real, like because the daughter saw the dragon, she's like, oh, we should work together. But then the mom was like, no, still think about our tribe, right? And then she turned to stone, so there was no more, like she couldn't listen to her mom, like her mom couldn't like manipulate her any further. So when they worked together, it would have been cool if the mom was alive. And she's like, no, think about the thing. So you're like, ooh, like there's a real choice to be made. But it was almost like there was no choice in this one. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. I thought it was just good. Just like family oriented kind of thing. That's what I thought.
Like, you know, it was definitely like, but that's the thing. It felt like a children's movie to me. Like when I was watching it, you know, like certain animated movies, like, what was that Fox one? Do you remember?
The Fox one?
It was like they were a Zootopia.
Okay, yeah.
And then that was all about racism.
Yeah.
See, it was like that was like really powerful movie. When I saw it, I was like, "Whoa, this is deep." Or like Soul, super deep.
Yeah.
But this one, I was like, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Well, are you note or something?
No, I'm just seeing through what you were saying.
Okay.
There was I did feel that too in the beginning, like the lesbian vibe. Did you get that?
Oh yeah, I did too. I thought they were gonna get together. Yeah. But they didn't. And I was like,
no. Yeah, but I think that was like one. That was at the beginning. It wasn't like I didn't feel as like into it in the beginning.
But which is weird. I was actually more invested in the beginning because I was like, where are they going to take us? Like you're really building the foundation for these characters. But then as it progressed, I was like, oh, it's just going downhill.
Right. It kept reminding me of a game that's supposed to be coming out on the PS5 soon.
Oh, what?
It's called Kenna, Kenna Bridge of something like that.
Okay.
Because it has a similar. She looks like similar like style.
Like visually,
visually.
Like, okay.
Like it had like that enchanted world vibe that the character is in the game. So yeah, it was like it was weirdly similar. That I felt. I don't know how that happened.
They're all just timing them together.
Yeah.
Like, they got the same art directors.
I don't know
for all of them. You know what's interesting too is like they're bringing up like the idea of finite resources. You know, it's like when the mom. So there was the heart, the kingdom of heart. Right? Yeah. And then in the beginning they were doing really well. And then by the end, like Fang was doing really well, but it was like it almost felt like a colonization movie, but it wasn't colonization. It was just like, I don't know, resources. Like
it was a bit of both. It was colonization, but also thinking individually. When they did separate and they all had their own pieces, they were all working independently.
But it was like there was only so much to go around.
Yeah,
you know, that's why they were fighting. Like and like instead of sharing the resources, it was like, but I'm looking out for my family, quote unquote, or which is like my clan. Yeah. I don't know. Also, it's like the idea of trust and like global unity. It's okay. Like that's a good sentiment, but there's also deeper layers to it, which I didn't think that they would cover. Like they touched on it with the finite resources. So it was like, okay, yeah, you're kind of delving into it, but there's like more that goes on in terms of like resources and like working together and like governance, like who's going to make up the laws. They didn't go into that. You know what I mean? It was like, that's what I mean. It was like, it was too.
Well, no, it is it's just like a fictitious world, right? They're already in magic in that world or something like that. So it was more about the main character realizing that it's about trust. That was her story.
That line, right? Like you have to trust them. You have to trust them. I was like, okay.
But she had to go through the journey to understand that.
Right. True.
That was the one thing that her dad kept telling her, but she didn't really. Well, once she got betrayed, she thought it was true. When she got betrayed, then it removed all that from her. Like, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then it was mainly the journey to get to the point where she can trust again. And then she took that first step.
Right.
The final part.
Yeah. Where she like sacrificed herself and stuff. But still, it was like that. Again, it was like overly simplistic because it was like,
right. I think that was the main thing. Yeah. But I feel that's why I liked it, because it was pretty simple to the point.
Yeah.
I got the message.
I was thinking too, like I liked how they portrayed different like parts of the dragon as different places in Asia.
Yeah.
So like I like olden time Singapore. That's what that one city reminded me of.
The one living in
water.
In water.
Yeah. And then they were like, oh, there's all these bandits, and like, because I saw it in.
There's quite a few places like that. There's in Philippines like that too.
You know, totally. Yeah, no. But like they were notorious. Like Singapore was notorious for that, pirates and stuff, right?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, they were probably a swampland, right, or something like that.
I don't know. But it was like a water island,
right,
thing. But yeah, so like if you watch Pirates of the Caribbean, they bring up Singapore and make it out to be like that. Right. And then when I visited Singapore and I was reading about it, it was like, oh yeah, like people did come here for like shady stuff, because it was like the main hub to like Europe.
Right.
So like they'd come through there. Or is it Hong Kong? Well, one of those. It was like a main port, and like you'd have like opium dens and stuff in there too. Although there was opium dens in Hong Kong as well. But anyways, that's besides the point. Yeah, they were like, they were trying to represent Asia with these different places. You know?
Yeah, the different parts of Asia. Yeah.
Did you get like that samurai Japanese like Mount Fuji vibe with that one place where they lived inside the fortress, and it was like snowing and they had like red plants? Remember the guy with like he played the sidekick to Doctor Strange?
Yeah. That one felt there were like more like Mongols type of people.
Yeah, kind of. But it made me think of like Mount Fuji, Japan, where
I didn't think of that actually. I thought of Mongols
because if you're samurai. Well, you're right though. I'd agree with you for that one. But the samurai Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
It had that kind of artsy feel, right? With like the snow and the red falling leaves.
Yeah. I mean, going to the different areas is kind of interesting to see the art.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, like for visually. Artistic points, visually, of course. It was great. The fight scenes were good. Yeah, I liked it. I liked the use of weaponry, because those weapons were real to a degree. I mean, you don't really have that kind of like shooting. The sword that she had.
Yeah, the sword that she
had. But there is a sword that like can break apart like that.
Yeah, I've seen that. It looked familiar. Like I don't know where.
It's Mortal Kombat.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, they used that in Mortal Kombat too. Okay. But that was a real weapon back in the day. So
right.
Not a good weapon, but
yeah. It just it fit for the story when they needed it to do the what do you call it? Like the
where she used as like a grappling hook.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I felt I'm probably gonna watch it again, you know, because my sister wants to watch it.
Yeah.
But I told her like, oh, save your time, but like, might as well just watch it. Maybe I'll like grow a second heart for it, but I don't know. It just felt really basic to me.
Right. It was just the message at the end. That's all. Like even the dragon didn't see Sue. Like
she wasn't even like an integral role.
She wasn't, but she was.
I was like, okay.
She was a side character, but there was
to progress the idea of trust. Yeah. So basically, if you want to watch this movie, we'll tell you the whole takeaway, which is trust other people. So that's all they're just gonna repeat that through the whole movie, you know.
Right.
So many moments.
But it's just a
like,
journey
you need
for
to trust
that character
people.
to go through to learn that.
I guess. I guess it is good for children to like watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
It was generally designed for that. But yeah.
yeah, it's exactly that. That's why I'm like, oh, it's like hollow, because like, again, animation movies can be super deep, like Soul,
They can be, yeah. Oh yeah.
like Zootopia,
Yeah.
Kung Fu Panda was super
Mhm.
deep, you know. But
Sometimes they become very much more deeper if they can relate to a lot of things when they're making it. I don't know, like if there's any issues.
it felt almost rushed to me, actually. now that
Right.
think
So I
about it.
wonder if that's a COVID thing.
Yeah, because
that
now that
they-
you're saying issues, I'm like, oh, that could have been it, because it's like, let's just get this done.
Yeah. And it could be difficult to work in that environment when you can't really express your ideas. Like normally that's what happens when you're in teams and working together. If you're working from
collaboratively.
home, yeah,
and stuff,
collaboratively. These things need to be done more collaboratively.
That's true. Maybe that is why it wasn't super great. That it was like,
Well, I thought it was still good.
yeah.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I can understand what you're saying. Like, it can be better. Like, it's not comparative to like Zootopia. It's not comparative to the other ones that I agree. It's just good, like not great in that sense.
It's like it'll do. It's like it's like a bow of bow. It's like a bowl of pho. You know, they're all good, but like there are some that stand out better.
Of course,
others,
yeah.
You know,
yeah.
or like sushi. You're like, I can get some sushi tonight. It's like one of those. Like, okay, it'll do.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else about the movie that you wanted?
No, it was just cool. A lot of colors in that one, but like, there was so much in it. We just were put into a world we don't really like. Dragons are there, cool. Like it wasn't like actually Earth.
Actually, that's true too. The world wasn't even fleshed out. We weren't like, oh, I understand this world. It's not. It didn't feel like a living world to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's certain movies that feel like a living world, but this one fell short of that. Sure. It felt like they were placed in an environment versus like I don't know how else to explain like a living world. Like then the movie that we were talking about later, Hostiles, like that felt like a living world. You know, you're like, oh, they're really
because it was real, right? That's why.
But the characters felt more developed. You know, like there was like essence to them. I don't know. It's, the best word I can describe it is hollow. It felt hollow. Great for kids. Because kids don't know any better between hollow. Like they'll just take the superficial stuff and they're like, "Oh, it's great."
Yeah, I mean, we watched a bit of Hollow, and then I had watched this. So it was kind of like interesting to see the two sides here, right? Because it was similar. The theme of trust is similar here.
You mean Hostiles?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Between Hostiles and Raya.
Yeah. I don't know. So check it out if you want, but I don't think it'll stand the test of time. It's one of those movies where you'll watch it as a kid, you'll be like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" You'll watch it again, you're like, "Oh, this wasn't that good." You know, like certain movies, like. Always are good.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Anyways, so that was that. So check out Hostile. Oh, not Hostile. Check out
Raya, the
Raya
Last Dragon.
At your own risk.
It's their second movie with a human dragon friendship. How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, it'd be your third then, because Mulan.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
That is
How to Train Your Dragon. True, I forgot about that. Was this this was a Disney movie, right? Okay.
Well, yeah, it was on Disney Plus. But.
No, but like Pixar. It could have been a Pixar generated.
I don't think it's Pixar. Yeah, don't think it's Pixar. They would have seen the Pixar thing in the beginning.
True. Okay, yeah, you're right. What happened to you, Disney? Like Lion King. Like that was another one. Like so many lessons in that. So many.
Right.
You know. The antelope eat the us, and then we become the grass. Like it was like, whoa, this is deep, bro. You know.
Well, if they keep getting those 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, that means they think they're doing right. They're doing good.
Oh, this got 95.
Yeah, something like that. It's pretty high number. So it's like, if you really think that they need to be changing things, then their number should be lower, right? But it's not. It's.
Well, it did just come out. Like, let's give it 2 weeks. Remember, like how?
Yeah, well, these are from the critics. These are already like they give them out like a week ahead, right?
Critics. I care about audience score.
Right, but they normally look at both, but they normally see like when they give it out, they want to see what the critic score is going to be. If the critic score is low, then it's not going to do well.
Right. No, well, we've seen other movies where critic score is low, but audience.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
No, I understand that, but like normally the movie doesn't do well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's funny, eh? Like it was like that movie we watched, Chef. Like critics really matter.
Yeah.
You know, if you haven't seen Chef, check that out. Like, basically, he has a breakdown because this critic writes a bad review and then he creates his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a good movie though. That also felt superficial, that movie, Chef, but it was a good one. It felt better than this one.
Okay.
Anyways, so yeah, so next thing, Stylebender, he fought yesterday, and yeah, he was going into this. Well, there's a lot of crazy things that happened in this this fight
Yesterday's
card.
episode of UFC.
Yeah, yesterday's episode of UFC. Yeah, the one guy, he won the title via disqualification, but it was so obvious that, you know, he wasn't concussed or whatever. And even the doctors at the end, like, he was acting pretty hard. And I thought so too. When I saw it, I was like, oh my God, this guy's totally faking it. And all the UFC fighters were like tweeting about how he's faking it.
Right.
And then like you hear Dana White at the end, because like they're like, we got to rush him to the hospital because he doesn't look good. And then the hospital people are like, oh, he's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you like science baited out your scene, bro.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. But would you have still been disqualified?
Yeah,
if you didn't act like that?
Yeah, no, it would have been like a no contest maybe or something.
Right.
Like they could have went multiple ways. You know, like, did he have to win the title? Yeah.
I guess so. I don't know. If the end result was still, he would have been disqualified then.
Or he could have been like, let's keep going. You know, like, who cares? It was just like a knee.
Right.
But I guess, like, because he knew he was losing. When we were watching the fight, you're like, oh, dude, this guy's about to lose. Right. You know?
So because of his reaction, that's why they stopped
they're like,
it?
Yeah, because they're like, oh,
so if you said continue. It was okay.
Oh, yeah, you couldn't hear the announcers. Mm-hmm. So, like, Joe was, like, going off. He's like, he can't fight. He can barely stand. What are you doing? You need to call off this fight. Like, yeah, it was just acting, bro. Yeah. Yeah,
but in the heat of the moment, people, you don't know if he's acting or not. Right? Like what I mean is, like, right away it happens. Okay, well.
But I was just, you were looking at his face. He was doing like the craziest, like,
sure,
yeah, come on.
But
man.
I think even as an announcer, you can't say like, "Oh, get back up." And
true. You're working for the company. Yeah. But like, that's why I thought it was just me. I was like, "Am I the only one that's crazy right now?" Or what's going on? And then you see all the UFC fighters being like, "No, he was acting."
Right.
And it's like, yeah, I saw it too.
Right.
Yeah, and then the other one's Hans Molenkamp got called out by Dominic Cruz for his marketing efforts. So I followed this dude on social media. I gave him an unfollow because I was like, oh, that's what you're doing. So like, he was basically building clout inside the MMA community.
Right.
So he wanted to be accepted. He was saying like how I've known these people for so long, and he posts these pictures like we're all really good friends, et cetera, et cetera. And then it turned out that if you want money from Monster, you have to play this guy's game because he's the main ambassador for Monster.
Okay.
And like Dana White, in his response to it, he's like, yeah, but this is like Monster. You're not guaranteed this money, so like you should be grateful that you're getting this money. I get it. You're a company, man. Totally fine. But like,
well, you can't really badmouth your sponsor because then other sponsors will be like, I don't want to work with you because you could
tarnish my reputation. Yeah, totally. But like, it was just weird that he outed it, and you're like, oh, I'm seeing behind the veil of this thing, right? And like, so basically what it was is like, in order for you to get your sponsorship, you'd have to post a picture with him. No, he'd post a picture with you. You'd have to film a video with him, and then you'd also have to comment on his photos.
Okay.
So basically, you were just like building his clout for him, you know. And
but I don't know what the contract was. It he was setting up the connection between them and Monster, or
and he was saying it like, if you want this money, if you want a deal, you have to do this for me.
Right.
But it's like,
well, that seems like that's kind of part of the deal, right?
No, but we don't know if it was in the contract because it's not Monster who's doing it. Like it was like independent. He's like it's sort of like, you do this favor for me, I'll get you in the good books.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, something like that.
I understand.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I thought it was fake because I'm like, why would this guy like out this in front of everyone? There's no way this is real. And then like doing the research on it, and then this morning, this manager, he posted this video of Dominic Cruz saying all this, and he's like, oh, Dominic Cruz has outed the monster at Monster, like the real issue that's going on, which is like this guy's taking advantage of people, and he's like, my fighters who he's like looking under, they didn't want to play this game, so that's why you don't see photos of them, which is like Khabib, Usman, Henry Cejudo, like all these like really top people. They're like, we don't care about your money. We're not gonna take these photos with you to give you like clout.
Yeah.
So like, I don't want the deal.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, these are all the behind the scenes stuff that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, you never really think about like that it's run like a business. You know, we're just watching as entertainers, and
of course,
you're like being entertained by entertainers, and it's just like there's a lot that's going on behind the scenes that you don't even know about. Like they recently cut a ton of people off the UFC because they can't pay for them anymore. So that was a crazy one too. Like all these legends started getting cut, and it was just like, oh wow, I didn't expect you to be cut, but it's like, we're paying you too much money. The pandemic hit them too hard.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, they don't have an audience right now, right? So
yeah, ticket sales are down.
Ticket sales are down.
Basically zero.
Yeah, and I don't like. I think they're making more money through, well, probably through pay-per-view, but it's like I think there's some money in it with doing. I think they get deals to come to cities, right?
Yeah, because it creates jobs for people and stuff like that.
So that's part of that thing that's not there right now. So.
Actually, as a side thing, like I'm not finished the book, so I don't want to talk about it fully yet. But I'm reading Drug Use for Grown-Ups, and what the guy was talking about was how when you put people in prisons that are away from their family, so you create a whole industry because people in the rural towns, they get employed by the prison, and then tourism goes up because these families have to drive like 2 hours away to visit them. So of course you're going to eat while you're there. Maybe you want to stay while you're there. So it's like, it's a whole industry, you know? Yeah. Just a side thing. Like the economics is stuff you don't see, which is crazy. There's always like some string pulling behind the scenes.
Right. Yeah. I don't think it's like anyone trying to pull strings. It's just like, okay, the prison was there. Then they see like, oh wait, people are going there, and well, if you can make some money, let's make a restaurant or something like that.
Like, yeah, that's true.
Right. People want to eat. They're gonna want to eat, and you know.
Irregardless.
Yeah. It's just like I think it's more like small businesses saw like, okay, there's an opportunity here.
But they keep perpetuating it because it makes money.
Right. Yeah. No. I understand. But the prison's already set up, and that's why it continues in that process.
Yeah. Totally.
Right?
Yeah. This actually goes into Hostiles, but we'll get into that. I think maybe we'll save Hostiles as the last one because this is like the best part of this whole thing. Okay. But so the thing that was most shocking over the Stylebender fight was it really showed me grappling matters. So Israel Adesanya, he's like the best striker anyone's ever seen. He's amazing, right? But he was saying like technique matters. So when the UFC started in 93, right? Hoist Gracie was the smallest fighter there. He was like so skinny, whatever. And then like, he beat everyone all in one night, and they were all bigger than him. But it's because he knew jiu-jitsu, grappling. So Izzy was like, okay, I'm going to do the same thing, but for striking, you know? And it didn't really turn out that way because, yeah, the bigger, stronger guy, like he was winning those first 3 rounds. Like it looked like he was like standing toe to toe. It was like, okay.
Yeah.
Right. And then the last 2 rounds, the guy was like, okay, screw this. And he just like took him down, held him down. And it was like, yeah, you won because like you had the dominant top control position.
Yeah. Right.
But he was like Israel.
Well, didn't he say that if he does get me down?
He did say that before the fight. He's like, it'll be over.
Yeah.
He's like, well, he could just wet blanket me. So basically, wet blanket is a jiu-jitsu term where it's like you're on top of them and you're like so heavy like a wet blanket.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. It's just
you're like smothering me, you know. And then Stylebender was also saying like at the end of the fight, he's like, well, I didn't get like dominated. It wasn't like he mounted me and started like bashing my face in. It was like, oh, like he's definitely lost. It was like, okay, he doesn't know any grappling. Even the announcers were saying like. Because he's a purple belt, right? But he technically kind of only got that purple belt out of like honor, like the guy that gave it to him. He wasn't really ready.
For who?
So Stylebender got a purple belt recently. Recently.
Okay.
But it might have been like a clout purple belt. It wasn't really earned because he got it in like a month, right? I mean, technically, but Stylebender was saying like, you know, I trust the trainer's judgment, whatever. But like when I was watching the move, so like it was almost like he was doing this hip escape, like it's like a very basic exit when you're being mounted, right? And the announcer was saying, oh, that's the wrong escape to use because he's heavier than you.
Mm-hmm.
So that already shows you it's like, oh, you don't know any other escapes, right? So it's like you're like, you think you can get away with it using like your striking and just a bit of jiu-jitsu, but it's like, no, like grappling really matters, you know? Because against a bigger, stronger opponent, grappling really matters.
Right, and he was generally in a class lower, right? Like weight class lower.
Yeah. He weighed in, even at the weigh-ins, he was like 4.5 pounds underweight.
Oh,
when he fought. Oh. So like the guy who's fighting was like 60 pounds heavier than him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big advantage when you're grappling, you know? Yeah. But if it's like they always say too, even if they're evenly matched, the heavier guy's always going to win in jiu-jitsu too, right? Because like size does matter, right? Yeah. It just made me rethink the whole striking game. And it explains why Khabib was so dominant.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Khabib and his crew are all grapplers. They barely get like scratched up because, you know, it's just control. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Yeah. Because he couldn't really do anything when he was on the ground.
Yeah, and you saw it. I was like, oh, this is not good. Yeah. You know? Yeah, but it reminds me of when Brian Ortega lost. Remember, like, so Brian Ortega would take these fights. He'd be teaching cops, and he'd get a phone call like, "You want to fight like in 2 weeks?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." He'll just spend the whole time making weight because like he relied on his jiu-jitsu, just like Stylebender relied on his striking. So now they hit this point where it's like, oh, I need more than that. So Brian Ortega, he like left like his old crew.
Yeah.
To join this new crew, which focuses on like wrestling, striking, and he became like a whole new fighter. So now it could be Adesanya's turn to like not leave his crew, but like include grappling into his thing. Yeah. And he might come back as a completely new fighter, just like Ortega did. Because Ortega's like totally different. But like he spent his whole time relying on the one talent he'd been cultivating, just like Stylebender did. So now when you hit that wall, can you go away, train for 2 years, and come back like completely different than before? Which Brian did. He didn't fight for 2 years. He just trained for 2 years.
Right.
And remember how like amazing he looked at that new fight? So I don't know. We'll see. I feel like it's the same story, but just like one striking and one's grappling.
Right. Yeah, we'll see.
But it really teaches you, you know, like in real mixed martial arts, you need to learn everything. You know, you can't rely on one thing.
Well, yeah, alone. I mean, anything can happen in a fight, right? So that that's kind of the thing that should be prepared for.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So it's like if you know he could take you down, you better fill that hole. You know. Yeah. And jiu-jitsu, above all, is the one style that's like extremely control based, you know, like striking, it's like somebody can land a lucky punch and you're out. But in jiu-jitsu, there's no lucky strangles. There's no lucky passing guard. You can't like, how else do you know? You know what I mean? There's no like luck involved in grappling. It's like you either know how to grapple or you don't.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, so enlightening moments. So those were my 2 down points for this whole weekend. But
what's the next fight you're waiting for?
I think Brian's fight is next. Yeah, April.
Oh, April. Okay. It's not bad. Next month.
I don't think anyone else is fighting anytime soon that I care about. I think it's Brian.
Okay.
And then if Brian wins, it's Max versus Brian.
Right.
We called that before. Yeah. So I'm hoping. So it's a rematch. That's going to be a sick fight, dude. Because, like, he wrecked you. So if you do a rematch on this... Oh, and now you're the champ, so it's like roles are completely reversed.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see the rematch if that happens.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, whoa. But yeah, I think like Stylebender, like he was saying at the end, like, oh, if you're gonna hop off the hype train, go ahead, because like, you know, everyone's like, oh my god, he's undefeated, he's like the best ever. Right. But it's like, I'd still put him up there as like one of the top fighters because like his striking is so phenomenal. But where's that thing you're saying? It's like when you don't press the button all the way down in a fighting video game, it goes halfway.
Yeah. A lot of
all their fakes
the jittery moves.
Yeah. They were just like herky jerky, you know,
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to fake each other out the whole time. That was so funny. But that is what it would look like, because it's like they were just using feints the whole
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
yeah.
All right, so should we get into Hostiles? Yes. Let's talk about COVID really quick.
Oh yes, COVID. I forgot what topics were. Anyways, yeah.
Well, I wanted to bring up COVID because so Kazmit Cherimov, this UFC fighter.
Okay.
So he's like super, like UFC fighters are like tip top shape because they have to be because they're fighting, right? So
yeah, in the world of health, yeah.
In the world of health, they go for stem cells, they go like everything, right?
Yeah.
So this guy was having lingering effects of COVID, so they flew him out to the US for like like the best treatment, and still he's like coughing up blood or something. Like he posted a picture of like blood in the sink, and he's like, I have to retire, my health is on the line. So like you should never know about COVID, man. It's like well, like it really affects people differently.
Yeah, that's one thing for sure.
Like even with healthy people, I'm like, oh, healthy people are fine, and then like a 33-year-old person like dies of COVID, and you're like, wait, what? Yeah, that's Oh yeah, you were gonna say Ministry of Loneliness in Japan,
right? Yeah, they had. I was reading that that they had more suicide deaths in like 1 month compared to the like all their COVID deaths,
which is crazy.
Yeah,
crazy. That's crazy.
So like, they have so they had to put in a position, Ministry of Loneliness, to figure out what, and I think it's the cause of COVID that also increased that. Which, what I mean, the cause of the lockdown and closing things down, so more people are staying home.
Right.
That increased the suicide rates as well. Right. They already had a suicide rate problem, but now it's much more prevalent. You can see it.
Now you're like your mental health is really affected because now you're isolated. Yeah. Even more alone.
Like the problem already was there. It's just now much more like you can see it.
Yeah, that's pretty intense. Like, what are they saying? The CDC, like the unintended. Like the ramifications of a solution shouldn't be worse than the problem. So like even though COVID is really bad, but like the effect on the economy, the effect on mental health, it's really straining things. But you're saying like Johnson fully approved now?
Yeah, here in Canada it's approved for use, but we don't know when we're going to get them here. Yeah. Because if they're making it in America, America has put like anything that's made in America has to stay in America for now.
Right.
All their vaccines, which makes sense. They want to, vaccinate everyone in their population first. But then interesting to see Texas being opened and removing the mask mandate.
What was it, Mississippi and Texas?
Yeah, Mississippi and Texas. At this point, it's kind of...
That's crazy. It's like you're at the end game and you just couldn't wait a little bit.
Right. It's just like a mandate of the mask. The guy was saying like, I recommend people wearing masks, but just like it was like nothing's kind of like technically enforced, I guess.
There's a guy that I follow. He's called Enlightened Goku on Instagram, and I think that was the account. But it was funny. He like posted this thing where Texas was like, we're not a people that's gonna let a government rule us. But it's like that's hypocritical because you are the government. You know what I mean? It's like we don't want government ruling us, and yet you're making these ruling calls as a government body. You know what I mean? It's like hypocritical.
Yeah, I think it's like a wrong use of words. Generally, a lot of them are just like they want limited government power. Yeah. Versus no government power.
Yeah, so they should have said that. Yeah. Not the. But it also is like Hostiles at the end of the movie when we'll get into it, but Hostiles at the end of the movie when he's like, oh, I have orders from the president himself. He's like, it doesn't matter who it comes from. It's my land. I can do whatever it is I want on it. It's
that reminds me of something that actually happened. Like I'll get to that when we bring that up more.
Oh, Hostiles? Okay, cool.
The other COVID thing I wanted to say, which I was kind of interested to see, was like they're giving out their first vaccines to gorillas.
Oh, I saw that too.
In the San Diego Zoo.
Penguins too.
Oh, penguin suit.
I
I didn't
saw
see
a
that
picture
one.
of it.
But I guess they were working on one specifically for gorillas because they had like 8 gorillas test positive at the San Diego
Really?
Zoo.
Damn. Oh, like you were saying, if it passes to animals, there's no way we can.
Yeah. So like if we're
control
making
this.
these vaccines for gorillas, also, it's like that's an interesting thing.
Oh,
So it's our first non-humans that are being vaccinated.
wow. What a weird time. But no, you're right though. Like, because if it passes to animals, there's no way to control it then.
Yeah.
Because it will mutate in the animal and then come back to us. Yeah, that's not good.
Potentially, yeah.
What I was thinking too, as well, is like think about all the industries that have been affected by COVID. Like we see it superficially, but if you really contemplate on it, what about all the people that studied to become like a chef, or like the people that studied to be like hotel management, or like, you know, even studying to be a martial artist? You know, it's like boom, all gone.
Yeah.
I think the chef one was the craziest because they don't even get that much pay. So it's like, ooh, you know, like they.
Well, I don't know about the chef's pay. It depends, I guess, on the restaurant you're at.
I guess I was tainted by that movie, Burnt.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure.
But yeah, like movies like Chef, movies like Burnt. It's like it's done. Like, what are you gonna do?
Well, just gotta hope for when COVID goes away that he can go back into it. But
or like Gordon Ramsay, right? Like how he went to France and then he worked like under those like top chefs and like did it for free and like was like, I just want to apprentice under you. So you put in all that work and it's like boom, gone. Do you know?
But I just don't think restaurants will go away. Like it'll.
No, definitely not. No. Yeah. But like,
they will make a comeback,
hit, bro.
Yeah, it is a huge hit right now. I think they do make a comeback once COVID's gone.
True.
People want to eat.
No, totally. But it's like how long do you gotta suffer for?
No, exactly that. No. Yeah, it does directly impact them right now. That is true.
And you're gonna like read like people who want to be chefs like coming up. They're like, do I really want to do this? If there's a pandemic, like what's gonna happen? You know. I don't know. It's crazy.
It's not always that the chef owns the restaurant, right?
No, totally. But I mean, like, if you're studying to be a chef, you're like, do I really want to go down this road?
Yeah, we'll have to see what those numbers show. Like, where do people end up going if they want to study stuff? Like,
how does it affect your mindset going forward?
It'll be interesting to see that percentage. Like, if
tech becomes huge now, everyone's just going to IT because they know that's the safest job.
Right, but there's already a lot of people in IT.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah, totally. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, I feel like the old world is totally gone, and it's like our future decisions will be based off of other things.
For the time being, yeah, till we forget.
Yeah, that's true. No, but you know, it won't make us forget legislation, because those are like, it changes the way we have to live our lives. Because people do forget. Like, we didn't even know about the Spanish flu until, or is it Spanish flu? Yeah, until COVID. And we're like, oh yeah, that thing happened. Yeah.
I was watching this thing about the Spanish flu. I didn't know. I thought it was because it was like coming from Spain or something. Actually, it had that, but it was like because it was the Spanish news. There was nothing to bombard their news. They were like open news. They'd talk about whatever, right? Okay. So they were the one who were focused more on the flu, on that. And then that's how the word Spanish flu came out. Because there were people were using different terms at different times. It's like, oh,
that's the origin of the name.
Yeah.
Got it.
So it's like people were using different names at those times because they were like trying to blame their enemies.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So they actually don't know the technical origin. It could even be from China at the time too. We don't like that was something like interesting said at the time. But we don't know.
I've been seeing like a lot of stuff now about climate change in regards to COVID because like my network, right? So like they're all like posting like when COVID's done, there'll still be climate change issues, and I was like, yeah, it's freaking true. I mean, we're seeing it with Texas and like most of the U.S. with like the snowfall,
right?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're hitting a point of, like we talked about this last time, like respect and like tolerance. You know, respect being more important than tolerance. But like at the same time, we're also headed. It's like we're heading two directions, you know. And which one's gonna win out? Global enlightenment or freaking destruction because of commerce.
Right. But I mean, again, it's these both will still exist. Like it'll be there.
Unless we're all dead, though. I mean,
but we'll see. We haven't killed ourselves yet, so.
But they project 2030. That's when climate change will.
Right, and hopefully we'll be on Mars or other parts.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. We might be gone, but the human race will live on.
I think the human race will technically go on.
And then we got to restart civilization, like what was that? Graham Hancock's books, Fingerprints of the Gods, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The 7 sages got to work their magic again.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I guess we can jump into Hostiles now. Yeah. Okay. Hostiles. So one of the greatest parts of this week was watching Hostiles. Because I was really looking forward to Raya, and I was really looking forward to that Stylebender fight, but it is what it is. Yeah. So Hostiles, basically it was all right, on a superficial level, it was about like escorting. This guy had to escort the Native American chief back to his homeland, but on a deeper level it was about how they're the same person, or like they have the same thoughts and feelings, but
they're both human.
That's the thing. But they're acting out this savagery on one another.
Yeah.
Actually, on the poster it said we're both hostiles. We're all hostiles, because I went to go look at the poster.
Oh, I see.
And like that was their tagline, we're all hostiles. And it's like, oh, it makes sense. Yeah, because the Americans versus the Native Americans, the atrocities that they did to one another are pretty equal, you know? Right.
I don't know if I want to say equal necessarily. I mean, they did do atrocities to each other, yes. I mean, but the ones who came here were the Europeans, right? That
and like
triggered
totally,
that kind of thing.
Yeah, so. True. Yeah, but it was interesting to see. Okay, let's just get into it. So, like, what do you like? What do you not like?
I thought it was a good story. I thought it was like, it was also a journey again for Christian Bale's character, because he hated him, like throughout.
Oh, it's like Raya, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then at the end of it, it's like, okay, yeah, we realized we were both the same people.
Yeah, totally.
By working together, they kind of understood each other.
Yeah, true. Yeah, for sure. What I got from the movie was like the extreme levels of death that can happen. Like we think of dying as this grand thing, but the way people died in this movie was just so nonchalant.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, oh, you died. What was that other movie that was just like that? Remember, I was like, we were watching this movie and I was like, wow, they're really just making death like, just because back in the day, death was just like death. It wasn't like some grand thing, you know. In movies, they play it out as like, no, you died. There was a shootout, they just died. And you're like, oh, well, that character's gone now. Yeah. It reminded me of like The Revenant. Sure, like that old school, you know? Yeah. But, so, in going back to that, it was interesting to see how like the opening of the movie, the girl's family dies in the opening of the movie.
That's
like
right.
Pretty horrific, easily and horrifically.
Yeah.
And then later on, she's eating dinner with the mayor's wife, and then the mayor's wife was like, oh, these, like, we're on their land, and like she was like a very like non-profity activist type person.
Yeah.
But you see the reality of like, wow, you're telling this to a person who just lost her entire family
to them, to Native Indians.
So it's like, it showed that duality, you know. It's like it was a very like dualistic movie.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and like how they relied so heavily on like prayer and like Catholicism, Christianity. You know, like we don't know why God does these things, but we have to like live through them and suffer through them. It's like, wow, you really needed that back then, you know?
Yeah. I think so. If you're seeing that kind of cruelty.
Yeah, and you're saying like
in the world,
they were like cops.
Yeah, I mean like the treatment to their prisoners, like the way we're talking about it here now.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's what you meant. Yeah. It was very like the other.
Yeah, but when I guess you can't say that the journey was traveling from what it was in New Mexico all the way to Montana. So, how long was that journey?
Totally.
So that's how much you're living with that other person, right, for that long. That creates
a bond.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. Yeah, that's true. Like.
Mm-hmm.
Even with your differences, if you have a common enemy and you have to like live with them and see them all the time, you build humanity.
Yeah.
Maybe that was
when you don't see them as human, they're just in a prison, they're just in a cage. You view them as animals.
Right. That's what happened.
That's what was in the beginning.
But then they had to go on this long journey. Which how many? It was like 360 miles or something like that.
Yeah, I think something like that.
But they were going at like 10 kilometers per hour.
Like walking steps. Yeah.
Yeah, like literally walking. And I was like blown away because you're on these horses. So I thought back then it would be like you'd be riding that horse at maximum speed.
Generally when you're doing a journey with so many people, you're not running. You're not like...
You're like literally walking.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
There's somebody like on foot walking next to the group. And right. I was like, this is going to take you months to walk 360 miles.
Right.
Not even kilometers.
Right. Well, that's how they stay fit. But yeah.
That's true. Yeah. But yeah, so like you spend months with this person. Mm-hmm. They're not in a cage. You're going to see the humanity in them. And then also like the struggles that they encountered, like the rival tribes. They had to work together to like...
Right.
So like there was a rattlesnake tribe.
Yeah, rattlesnake. Yeah.
The native rattlesnakes, who like they would kill anything. Mm-hmm. So they worked together on that.
Doesn't matter if you were like Americans or Indians.
Yeah, they would just kill you.
Yeah.
And then so they had to work together for that, and then also the woman at the beginning of the movie, she was with them, and then she gets abducted along with the daughter. Mm-hmm. Of the Native American chief. Yeah. So they have to work together again. Yeah. So it's really like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, you know? Yeah. Even though you're like different than me. Mm-hmm. See, like if Raya was like that would have been way better. Like, you know, build some trust. There's like depth in that, you know?
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
Common good kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was interesting to see like when you build that understanding, that awareness of like, oh, this person isn't just an object, they're a human being.
Right.
But then like when Christian Bale's character met the other Americans, they were like, the Americans were looking at them like objects still. So it's like you saw Christian Bale's understanding of like they're not just objects, but he had to like, but this is the world I live in.
Yeah.
You know? Right. Yeah, it was very interesting. And we forget that this happened. This is real, you know?
Yeah.
It's not even like Raya where it's like fake. It's like this really
this
happened,
is real.
You know?
That's why it's much more like much more attached to the story.
It reminds me of 12 Years a Slave too. Like we watched those movies, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We really need to like revisit history. Like every time we think that we're in a tough spot, it's like, what do you mean, you know?
Yeah, when you actually look back just 50 years ago, it was like compared to where we're at now.
Actually, I just saw this, speaking of 50 years, I just saw this meme where it was like, stop saying this is the worst separation that's ever been. And then it said like 50 years ago, and there was like black sink, white sink.
Right,
like,
yeah, exactly.
You know, just like Hidden Figures, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, there was way worse separation before. There was no anesthetics before. There's no technology. People just died willy-nilly. Now if somebody dies, it's like, oh, this is a big thing. It's going to make the news, and like we're going to have laws and tribunals and stuff. But it's like back then, if you died, it was like you just died.
A lot has changed, and there's still things to be changed. But
no, we still have a long way to go, right? But like...
Yeah. But that the fact that there has been a lot of change, meaning there is a chance of change.
Yeah.
To happen. I mean.
And what I thought was interesting too, like speaking of no technology and like change and stuff, it was interesting that back then it was so much easier to lie. You know, like they were like, here, take this piece of paper, and then this will protect you from everything, right? But it was like, but what if you just wrote that piece of paper on your own? Like, how would you know that piece of paper is real? You know?
Yeah, I think they had it was like these types of stamp you can't have. I don't know. There was a lot more.
Or maybe there was like more stringent laws against lying back then. I don't know.
Could be things like that. There is some things about that. Like I just don't think I don't know how it was actually like because it's just a movie.
Right.
Would there have been forgeries? Probably would have been.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think majority of people didn't do that. Even now, they don't really do that.
Really? Why would you think that?
It's just nobody wants to deal with trouble if anything does happen.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh. I saw this quote recently. It was like the average person doesn't want freedom; they just want safety.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that.
That's what I'm saying.
Know? Yeah, exactly. That's what I
wrote. Might as well just follow the rules.
Yeah, fine. we just want to live a normal life. Yeah. We're just gonna live this until we die, kind of thing. So yeah, that's probably why they didn't. But
it's like it's the same thing. Like it's just like by telling the truth or whatever, right? Like for instance, like border security stuff. It's like something you're bringing in something that you're not supposed to allow. You're not allowed to bring in. When they ask you like what's system. In your what's in your bag, it's like, well, if you had said that I brought some raw meat, okay, you're not supposed to bring that in. Right. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, then because you told them what you brought, that's fine. If you hid that, then you get in penalties for that.
Right, totally, yeah.
So that's I think the kind of thinking.
True. Yeah.
That was done. Yeah.
Complicit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to get back to, I think I was mentioning earlier, like those at the end of the movie when those 4 people came that's saying that this is my land, like so that's and they were basically talking to like the U.S. Well, I don't know, are they marshals or whatever they were?
Yeah, I don't know. Sure.
Anyway,
Soldiers,
so it's
whatever.
like they work for the government at least, right? So that's happened even in recent time.
Oh, really?
There's like, these people like...
Yeah, remember when that scene came out? I was like, this is so American of them, like to say it. But yeah, go ahead.
But it happened like in real where they were bunkered down in actual like gun to gun with the cops. These other white people, like this is our area. Like, why are you coming in here? Like,
like in Texas or like you can't step on my land.
Yeah. And there was an actual, I don't know if it was a shootout, but it was like they had their guns pointed at each other.
Though.
Yeah.
Like they take property rights very seriously in the U.S. Like, you can't just like storm in.
But it's built into the American
ethos of like who they are.
It's the whole idea why they went against the British.
Yeah, true. Right. So it's not surprising that even though at the end of the movie the guy's like, these are direct orders from the president, he's like, I don't care what the president has to say. This is my land. It's like, whoa, all right.
Right, that's the whole idea of property rights, right? That's the thing.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's much more important than...
Yeah, totally. Weird times. But one thing I do like about, and I picked up a couple of books on them because I'm like, oh, it's so fascinating. Like Native American understanding of like nature, you know? Because like they'd say like in that movie when he's like, are you okay? He's like, once I'm nourished by the earth, I'll be fine or something like that.
Right.
But we call that eating, you know? But like you never think of it.
Right. I mean, that's why they feel like, I guess we've separated from nature in that sense. Living in cities like this, we don't see where the grapes are coming from or like how we get the meat. It's already cut up for us. Right?
Yeah, there's no hunting.
Yeah.
You just go to the store. Yeah, but that's what they're saying about like factory farming. That's what's really bad about it is like it creates a separation between you and what you're consuming.
Yeah.
So you have no respect for food at that point. If it like chickpeas,
I can understand. Yeah, I can understand that happening. Of course that'll happen because we don't see where it's coming. We don't see the actual killing of the chicken. It's like, oh, you feel bad, but you understand. But then there's like the point, like,
you'd living have reverence if you actually killed that chicken.
Yeah, that's why it's like, okay, so you don't have to like overeat. We need to eat, but we don't have to overeat.
Yeah,
because we understand what actually is happening here. We're killing something for us to be nourished.
But because we have giant cities now and like factories that are located away from the city who like slaughter farms and stuff, they're like products. They're not. They're not living things anymore.
Right. So like that's where we're coming to, or not coming to, where we're at right now. I see where what's going to happen next is where we are creating the meat.
Yeah,
which is true. Where we're going.
Which is also kind of weird because it's like it won't have all the nutrients. You're creating something chemically based, like you're talking about like plant-based meat.
No, not plant-based meat.
Or like fake
generating the actual meat, like
cloned meat.
Yeah. Like so then there's no actual animal killing. You're creating the patty or what? I don't know.
Yeah. That's also weird because like where does that come from? Like what? And then what if?
Well, you're using actual like whatever they do. I don't know the science aspect, but like actual using whatever the protein
are
stuff.
Are we even human at that point? Like
no, at that point, I mean, at that point, we don't necessarily have to kill anything if we get to that.
but then if you go to that point, what about how? Like in Texas, the wild boars, you have to kill them because they're destroying everything.
Right.
So it's like
then
infestation.
Then I think that's the issue that'll come up later, and then we go back into it again.
It's almost like humans are like on this never-ending cycle of trial and error.
Of course, it's always.
But there's no forethought, though. I mean, there's no like.
No, I think there's an idea, but then, once we get to that idea, we don't know what happens. Outside of that, right?
Even with the ideas, it's like. It's not, there's no forethought. It's just like, what is the loudest idea? It doesn't have to be the sanest idea or the most sound. It's just like, who's the one screaming the loudest in the room? We'll listen to that person.
Sure.
And we'll try it. And if it doesn't work, we'll listen to the next person screaming. Because like that's what politics is. That's what, what do you call it? Where protesting is.
Yeah.
All that stuff is, screaming. That's all it is. It's weird because it's like if you look
there's a point to it too. Sometimes the screaming, I understand that too. It's like
civility though. It's like for
I understand that, but they feel like nothing's happening, so like they're just angry about it.
Yeah.
But the solutions have to come somehow, right? You have to learn.
No, totally.
There has to be people that know how to do that too.
It's interesting because in a world of like in spirituality, they call it like you're creating separation from non-separation. So basically, like you have the earth. There's no such thing as rules. There's no such thing as morality. We're imposing those things onto an earth that has none of those. Like, try and tell a dog about morality. There's no such thing, right? But because of our prefrontal cortex is evolved in such a way, we're creating these rational systems. Yeah. And like it almost seems like that's what's messing everything up. Rather than like working with nature, we're like, let me create this reason why we're better than nature. Let me create this way that we can save ourselves from nature. I mean, which would I'd rather have though? I'd rather have now because technically we have technology. Back then, as we saw with Hostiles, people died all the time for like nothing.
Yeah. There's a lot of
connectivity.
Risks. Yeah.
There's no nothing.
But it was the idea, even back in the day, it was like that's the early Americas, right? Just being like the first time,
right?
Something that's there, and people do go there because they want to build a new life. Maybe it was bad in Europe, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
They left those areas and to look for new opportunity.
The one with the biggest stick always wins. Really, right? It's like when they were at the dinner table, to go back to it. When that activist person was like talking about like Native Americans' rights, it's like, yeah, you could say that in your like
privileged state.
In your privileged state.
She was in a privileged state to say that. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm nice and warm. Nobody was killed. So let me talk
you got
about
all this from
rights.
Doing all that already.
Yeah, so it's like, do you not see the hypocrisy in even you talking about this? Why don't you just go back to Britain and then you can talk about it there? Right. I think that's
well, I mean, that's there, but then sometimes you're already in it. So, but you can see what's happened.
Yeah, but that's what living your life with awareness is. It's like you see the hypocrisy in your actions. You know, if you can see it full circle, then it's like, and then you choose to still go forward with it. Yeah, it makes sense. Like I see both sides. Like I saw, like seeing the history of it. I see where we are now. I'm still gonna choose now because now is better than what it seemed like before. But then you get the new age being like, we can create a better system.
That was always there. Even I was watching a little bit of the amendment, the 14th Amendment or something.
Oh, yeah,
the one that was there.
Yeah.
Even that early that time, there were people like arguing that that system is barbaric and we have to remove it and start from scratch.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So they've always been thinking
it was like that. But then
reform.
The one guy who came from slavery, he was able to teach himself how to read and everything.
Yeah.
He pushed for like, no, we don't have to remove the whole thing. Like there's a system in here that works, but he got the 14th Amendment added in, which was to bring who are citizens.
Oh, okay,
he's like, we'll work within the system and make the change.
I know you haven't watched the new corporation yet. That's why we didn't talk about it this week, but hopefully next week we'll talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But like the ending of the whole thing is like, yeah, you got to vote if you want things to change, because it's like, that is what it is. Like you got to use the system to like change the system.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't fight the system.
No, you can. It's built into that. You can change the system. You just got to vote.
Yeah,
that's how it was built.
Yeah. I don't know. It all seems so convoluted to me. It's like we're spinning our wheels on.
It's always going to be like that.
I know. That's why it's like I just don't want to get involved with it now. You know, it's like. No, but before it was like I had staunch views, right? Like, oh, this is good, this is bad. But then like really, like, you know, because I come from that like very ultra spiritual world. So like study wise, like I studied marketing, but then going into like the yoga martial arts streams, you're like, oh, there's like unity and like all this. And then you kind of like, you can get diluted by it if you don't look at the reality of the situation. That's why I think it's like, thankfully I studied business too. Because then I like look at both worlds. I'm like, wait, this doesn't, the accounting doesn't add up. You know,
right.
It's like, yeah, we could all live as one, but who's going to be doing the work? You know what I mean? Okay, well, this person will do the work, but then you're in charge of that person. So you're creating a new system. You know, it's just like, you're just going to end up creating the same system we already have and calling it a new system.
Yeah. It will always
revert back to this thing. Yeah. Because it's human nature. It's like, one will work, one will not work. One will come up with ideas, one will do the labor, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so final, anything else about Hostiles? Isn't Hostiles like a horror movie, damn?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I think because when I...
Or Hostile.
Maybe. No
Hostiles.
S. Yeah, no S. Yeah, anyways, that's why it tripped me out. I was like, well, yeah, we're watching Hostiles. And I was like, but isn't it Hostile? I was confused. They should have chosen a different name. So final thing, I was listening to Daniele Bolelli's podcast on Joan of Arc. So, and I wanted to tell you this all week, but like, I wanted to save it for the podcast because it's a crazy story. So, you know Joan of Arc, right? We should watch that movie too, actually. It was from the girl who played Fifth Element. I saw it when I was a kid.
Joan of Arc. I don't know if I've seen it.
You've never seen it? Yeah, it was like a big... all right, so I thought it was not real. But did you know that Joan of Arc is a real story?
What is the story?
So this farm girl, this peasant farm girl, she's like 16 years old. And then she's like, the angels are speaking to me. So I'm going to free the French from the English. And I'm going to get this guy to become king. So she goes from her peasant village. She goes and meets the king. She liberates France and also gets that guy to become the king.
King of France.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, but all while talking to the voices in her head. So now we're looking at it like, does she have schizophrenia? Like, what's going on? But back then, they fully believed in being able to talk to angels and demons.
Yeah.
So one of the things when she showed up, they're like to say legitimately, like, God has spoken to me, they will take you seriously back then.
Yeah.
Right? So she went a far way because of this. And then one of the first things they did, because they don't know if it's an angel or demon, they sprayed her with holy water. Just to be sure. Yeah. This is
interesting.
A true story.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought it, because I've heard of like Joan of Arc's tales before. I saw this movie, so I'm like, okay, it's mythology. It's not mythology. It like really happened. And I think it's like a crazy case study for human behavior. Like, you're just gonna take this person at their word for this thing.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
No, that's how it was back in the day. I mean, how else could you have known? Like,
but you could just lie. You could do like anything.
Yeah, I know you could.
But this young girl,
you could, like, but I just don't think like people don't do that generally. Like,
that's naive.
Because it's hard to.
Okay, no.
Because there's this level of like when you actually like see someone telling a lie, and there's like someone who
telling the truth.
Was telling the truth, and she believes she's telling the truth.
Yeah.
Because it happened. Right. So that creates that, like, okay, I think she's...
It's not a lie if you believe it to be true.
Yeah. So it's like she was saying something that was, to her, is fully truthful.
Yeah.
So you believe it, like, so unconditionally.
So they're going to take you as it's true.
Yeah.
But, okay, so if you understand human nature, if you knew about human nature back then, you could easily just rule everyone. You just lie to them, like, oh yeah,
and I think people did do that too.
You come in, you're like, I have a kingdom back in Asia. They're like, what? Yeah, I'm a prince.
People did probably do something.
Right? That's what I mean.
Anyone who was able to think like a trickster and figure that out, how to manipulate people. Sure.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so it makes you wonder, are we here? If you look at cause and effect, domino effects, are we here because of a bunch of foolish decisions? You know what I mean? Like, history could have played out a myriad of ways.
Sure, yeah.
But, Joan of Arc freeing the French from the English, that sparked a whole new time reality. If you like look at, flashbacks in time,
right.
Like the Avengers kind of thing, you go back and change something, it changes the course of the future. Like, we're here today because of a bunch of lies, or it's not lies because she did end up doing it, but like, it's like,
no, we're here based on whatever happened in the past, right? Like what triggered that.
And how silly are we as humans?
So why are we here where we're at? You can go back as far as you want. Like once Europe was like dark ages, it was like they only thought about it internally. Then they realized they ran out of resources. We need to go out, and this is how Americas were created.
Right.
Or the idea of colonization happened.
Yeah, totally.
So all of that, and then where we're at now again. So it's like,
yeah, totally. Yeah. They had some idea, and that idea sparked something, and that thing sparked a bunch of other things. It's like ripples in a pond. Yeah. But this is why I always revert back to like Zen and Buddhism and stuff, because they realized, like, no, it's all just mind games.
But again, I don't know if everyone realized that. That would be
Zen and the top people.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. Yeah. Right.
When you hit the pinnacle of like that spirituality thing, it's like, oh, it's just a mind game. That's what Buddha was awake to. That's what a lot of like Zen monks were awake to. It's like, that's why they left society. I keep bringing this up, but they left society because they're like, oh, this is a joke. This is not real.
Yeah. But then some people would use that as a method to control others.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So if you knew that, it's like the dark side of the force. It's like, oh, it's just mind games. All right, cool. I am directly from God. Kind of thing.
Yeah, of course.
Which Joan of Arc did. But then, all right. So the funny part is, I guess not really funny, but so with great power comes great corruption. So remember how like Jesus, like he was trying to send a message, and then he, like, if you read the Bible, it's like, oh, he starts to like tell people to follow him and stuff. So Joan of Arc, when she completes her mission, like the 2 things she's supposed to do, took 2 years. When she was done, the voices left her, but she couldn't stop there. She's like, okay, now I'm going to free this town. And then she got so bad that the French ended up kind of screwing her over, and then she got captured by the English. And then she was like, oh no, I've like gone the wrong way. And then the voices came back to her, and they were like, you have to go through with this. Like, you are going to be burned alive because like, you went down this bad path and stuff. But like, it's funny how that always happens. You do one thing that it's sort of like UFC fighters, right? Like, when do you retire? That's why I like Khabib and Henry Cejudo. They retired on top. Like Joan of Arc, she had a taste for it. They retired on top. She kept going. Now she's like one of those aged fighters that keeps getting KO'd.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like well, one of the reasons why I like watching MMA and stuff is like it's a psychological case study. How much is too much, kind of thing. And that's like Joan of Arc too. How much is too much?
Yeah. So there's a movie about that?
Yeah, you're gonna watch it?
Sure. Yeah, we'll see where that's at. But
yeah, true. I don't know where it is at, but I watched it a really long time ago. And again, I thought it was fake because I was like, "There's no way this is real."
That's the thing. Sometimes they say that sometimes truth is
stranger than fiction.
Stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
And that's probably
because I was like, even as a kid, I was like, "There's no way this is real."
Right. Yeah.
Turns out they have her transcripts of her trial. When they got her, they were like there's evidence of her. Like,
yeah,
you could read it. Like, she was a real person. It's crazy. It was like the 1400s, I think, something.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, the mind is the pathway to evil. Manage your mind, manage your life. Anything else, Fish? Final thoughts?
That's the great story of humans.
Yeah, totally. And that's why the enlightened ones left humanity. And the evil ones did too. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Till next time, take it easy, Fish.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors, Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Fish.
Peace.